Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham Giuseppe Matthews, where I break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. Of course, all November long, we're talking about Survivor Series, and today we're breaking down the 1995 installment. So, opening the show, a traditional elimination 4-on-4 Survivor Series tag team match, pitting the Body Donnas, consisting of Skip Rad Radford, Dr. Tom Pritchard, and the 1-2-3 Kid, against the Underdogs, consisting of Marty Jannetty, Barry Horowitz, Bob Holly, and Hakushi. A nothing match. Obviously, the Underdogs were kind of a synonym for the losers when you look at the team. Marty Jannetty was over. Hakushi, Barry Horowitz, and Bob Holly at that time were not over. They were underdogs/losers. But still, I thought it was a fun match, and the entire story kind of revolved around and kind of focused singly on 1-2-3 Kid. He was really the one to watch here. Obviously, the sole survivors for his team, and had Ted DiBiase in his corner. This was right after he had gone heel. A nothing match. It was a fine opener because you got the losers out of the way right out of the gate, so that was fine. And Razor Ramon, who was involved, who was feuding with the 1-2-3 Kid at that time, I believe, was shown backstage getting all pissed off that the 1-2-3 Kid won. So while he wasn't involved in the match, I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody can answer that. I didn't do any past research beyond this pay-per-view, but I'm sure there was a reason behind it. But maybe they didn't want to have 1-2-3 Kid pin Razor Ramon, but still a big win for him and a fine way of kicking off the show. After that, a 4-on-4, a women's Survivor Series tradition elimination tag team match, pitting Bertha Faye, and bear with me here because 9/10 of the women in this match were all Japanese talents. The names are very hard to pronounce, and I'm already bad at pronouncing names as it is. But the first team consisted of Bertha Faye, Aja Kong, Tomoko Watanabe, and Lioness Asuka. Or Asuka. I mean, now it's called Asuka in NXT. Anyway, and the opposing team was Alundra Blaze, Medusa, Kyoka Anui, Sasuke Hasukawa, and Kapatari Asari. I'm sure I botched all four of those names with the exception of Alundra Blaze. Anyway, though, it was a good match. I mean, as Jim Ross pointed out on commentary, it was the first women's elimination tag team traditional match we've had in Survivor Series, at Survivor Series, since the inaugural installment in 1988. So, 87 rather. So 8 years had gone by since our last women's tag team match at Survivor Series. It wasn't really given enough time at all, just rapid eliminations. The match was only 10 minutes. The first one I thought was better in 87 with the jumping bombshells were their names, or the jumping something like that, but they were the two Japanese talent, and they were amazing. They were great. This wasn't a bad match. I thought, they were obviously just furthering the feud between Bertha Faye and Alundra Blaze. But in the end, it was Aja Kong was the sole survivor, so that was a strange surprise. But a fine match, could have been better, but maybe it didn't really help that a lot of the talent involved were just people I wasn't familiar with at all, just a lot of Japanese talent, which made for a good wrestling match, but in terms of my engagement with it, couldn't really care less about it because I wasn't really familiar with a lot of people that were involved. So after that, we had Goldust taking on Bam Bigelow. Goldust, not his pay-per-view debut. I'm pretty sure he debuted at In Your House couple weeks before this or a month before this. I know because I remember talking about it a couple days ago on Twitter that Goldust had been celebrating 20 years in WWE, so it's amazing to see. Amazing to realize that much time has gone by since Goldust first debuted in WWE. Not really a good match. It was okay, but it was more focused on Goldust, getting him over one of his first few opponents. I was surprised to see Bam Bigelow defeated so decisively. He was gone from WWE shortly thereafterwards, but like I mentioned in my 94 Survivor Series review, I feel like he is WWE Hall of Fame worthy. I don't think he won any gold in WWE, not even tag team title gold. I might be wrong on that, but I thought for a guy of his size, he was very agile. He was over as a babyface. I thought he was a natural heel when watching him in past pay-per-views, but on this show, he was beloved by the audience, but that didn't really change the result of the match. He still jobbed out to Goldust, which was good because Goldust was the new star on the scene. People just hated the androgynous gimmick. And, he was so dedicated to that character that he made it work, and the rest is history when it comes to Goldust. But the match wasn't really anything too noteworthy, but it was a big win for Goldust on his first major pay-per-view since coming to the WWE. So after that, another 4-on-4 traditional elimination Survivor Series tag team match pitting the Dark Side, consisting of the returning Undertaker, Savio Vega, Fatu, and Henry Godwin, with their opponents being the Royals, King Mabel, Jerry Lawler, Isaac Yankem, DDS, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Total squash. Undertaker comes back wearing this very weird mask, which obviously did not last long at all. I don't know if it was only for the pay-per-view or what, because he was not wearing it by the following WrestleMania. So it might have been just for his return or something they tried out for a couple weeks and it didn't work. Not really sure. I thought it was cool. I mean, it reminded me a lot of Kane's current mask. Not the mask that he had when he first debuted in WWE late 90s, early 2000s, Kane, but I'm talking about his current mask. It looks like he got slapped, as Daniel Bryan would say, it looked like he got slapped in the face with a fruit roll-up. He had that mask, Undertaker did on this show, but total squash, as it should have been considering their opponents were all basically losers. King Mabel was awful. Jerry Lawler was a comedy character at this point. Isaac Yankem, I will say it was funny seeing Isaac Yankem and Undertaker in the ring, considering Isaac Yankem would come back 2 years later as Kane, and the rest is history there. And then Triple H, another thing. Seeing Triple H is being so quickly disposed of in such decisive fashion by Undertaker was was just fascinating to me, considering how big of a star he would become years later. But yeah, total squash, as it should have been, and Undertaker's entire team survived. Team Darkseid were the sole survivors, so a grand return for Undertaker at the same pay-per-view he had debuted at 5 years prior. So after that, we had another 4-on-4 traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match, pitting Team Michaels, Shawn Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, the British Bulldog, and Psycho Sid against Team Yokozuna, Owen Hart, Razor Ramon, and Dean Douglas. A pretty good match. We had Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, and the British Bulldog as the sole survivors, so probably the best wrestled traditional tag team match on this show. So that was very entertaining. Everyone involved pretty much had a story going on at that time of some sort. And Michaels was kind of building momentum going into WrestleMania the following year, so it was effective, and it was logical to have his team go over and have him be one of the sole survivors. And like I said in my 94 review, as each year passed, Yokozuna looked worse and worse and worse, and he did not look great here at all. But it was a good match. I enjoyed it for what it was. The double team with Ahmed Johnson, I want to say the British Bulldog, or it might have been Michaels, I'm not sure. The double team with those guys was cool, and it built to Ahmed Johnson that kind of wanted to make a start of him, which was nice. So the double team and Yokozuna to take him out was pretty innovative, I guess I could say. And Psycho Sid getting eliminated, I think would plant the siege for the split between Michaels and Sid right after WrestleMania. I wanted to say it happened sooner rather than later, because I know they faced off the 96 Survivor Series. My review of that show is already up from last year. But he was the only person from his team that did not survive, so kind of planting the seeds there for dissension between Michaels and Psycho Sid. And then we get to the main event, a no disqualification match for the WWF Championship. Bret Hart contending for the gold against Diesel, and a very, very, very good match. And probably, if not, undoubtedly, Diesel's best title match during his entire reign. The guy had held the belt pretty much for a year. He didn't win the belt at Survivor Series 94, like I talked about my last review on Thursday. But he did hold the belt from 2 days after Survivor Series, after beating Backlund in a record-setting 8 seconds at MSG, to this very show. So he did have a year-long reign as WWE Champion, but business was in the shitter. He didn't know business as WWE Champion, and his matches weren't really all that great either. But he did have a great on and off feud with Bret Hart, and Bret Hart had a legitimate claim to the gold, because if you can recall, I believe they had a match on Raw or something like that, but Bret Hart had dropped the title at Survivor Series 94 last year, the year before this, and then Diesel wins the belt, and I think they had a match at the Royal Rumble that ended in controversy, or maybe they had another pay-per-view match that ended in, just disqualification and interference or whatever, but the story they were trying to tell was that they had never really had a one-on-one, clear-cut winner in either of those matches, building to this match on this pay-per-view, Bret Hart finally getting his due in a WWE title match, and it was a very good match. He obviously got the best out of Diesel, who was never a great worker, obviously, but he could go in the ring with the right guy, and I thought Bret Hart, obviously, undoubtedly was the right guy for the job, and the two had a very good no DQ match, really made the most of the stipulation, got great time, great story, and Diesel was an interesting character. This was, right before the Click and the Shades of Grey and characters and the NWO and whatever else. But Diesel, I believe, despite being a babyface champion, was kind of, showing signs of a heel turn. I mean, afterwards, he pretty much turned full-fledged babyface by attacking Bret Hart. But I think even from that point, he was still with the mindset that if you cheer me, I love you, I'll pound your fist. But if you hate me, fuck you, don't really care. I think he kind of had that mindset as a villain. I don't really know if that's the right mindset. That's debatable and an entirely different discussion for a different day. But putting that aside, a great match. Bret Hart, in the end, emerges victorious as the new WWE Champion. Gets left laying by Diesel, of course, but furthers the feud, big title change, and Bret Hart is finally, after all this time, after a year of chasing the belt, is once again WWE Champion. So great way to go off the show, and on the whole, I thought it was a better show than 94. Not a great show, but I would call it a good show. The opener was really nothing, but it furthered a feud between, furthered 1, 2, 3 Kid's story. After that, the women's match was fine for what it was. Goldust, you got him over in that match. The Dark Side versus the Royals was a total squash, but Undertaker's return was memorable in that respect. Team Michaels and Team Yokozuna, very entertaining, and the main event was great as well. So I would call this a good show. Be sure to check it out on the WWE Network. And that is it for my review of Survivor Series 1995. In the meantime, and in between time, guys, before my next review tomorrow right here on the channel, where I will be talking about Survivor Series 1999. Now, I know that's a big jump. I already talked about 96, 97, and 98 last year, so be sure to go back in the archives right here on WrestleRant on the channel for my review of those shows. And we'll be back tomorrow with my review of Survivor Series 99. But in the meantime and in between time, here we go, the cheap plugs. You guys can follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant on Facebook. Give the page an old thumbs up at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. As I said before, be sure to check out my review. All my other reviews of Survivor Series already up here on the channel, and the review going up tomorrow of Survivor Series 1999. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.